everyone. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. So, if you're watching on YouTube, if you could please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Spotify, you can always follow us there. Every like and share and subscribe can help our channel to be seen by many more Stargate fans. So, we really appreciate it. And then we also have all of our socials listed up on the screen right now if you wish to follow us there. Okay, thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Bye. And to all the Stargate fans out there, we would love to hear from you and chat with you on our show. So if you're interested in doing that, please reach out to us via any of our social media platforms or email.
So I guess I'll just start with saying, you sent me this link because I think we talked about doing something much more, I guess, kind of upbeat and kind of easygoing this week, since we talked about such a dark, harsh topic last week. And one of the things you sent me is the top 10 running gags in SG1 from Reddit. And I'll actually put the link in the description. Interestingly, this was created by Joseph Malozzi. So I think it's very legitimate because it was created by a show producer and writer. And so I thought we would go through this. We can talk about ones we also think are funny, and actually if we noticed some of them, because some of them I noticed and some of them I didn't.
Exactly, yeah.
And so the first one, and he says my favorites, and in no particular order. And my favorites implies there's actually more than this. So I hope that people are watching that listen to this also drop some of your own favorites that aren't listed here. This is only SG1, so of course there's probably more in Atlantis. Maybe there's even some in Universe, I don't know. But we'd love to hear from other people. What are your favorites? But we'll start with the first one, which is Blue Jello. And I have to say, I did notice this one. I always notice that there's always blue Jello in the when they're eating, and especially Carter always having blue Jello.
Yes.
But this is interesting because what the creator writes about this is that the blue Jello predates my involvement with the show. By the time Paul and I joined SG1 in its 4th season, the gelatin was already, my French is really bad, in almost every mess scene, eventually finding its way to Atlantis as well. So what's the deal? Search me. I seem to remember someone saying it was simply something the prop department whipped up one day that stood out both for its neon properties and sheer ridiculousness, and quickly became a comically beloved visual staple. So did you also notice it in Atlantis?
I didn't notice it in Atlantis. At least not that I can remember. Because I guess sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, I think me too, like as if I thought deeply, I'd probably remember something, but I don't think I really registered it in Atlantis.
Like I think it was kind of like one of those things that I didn't realize was supposed to like be any sort of like running joke kind of thing. Like I think like it just kind of like made sense to me that like, you know, when they're in that kind of environment, it just seems like there would be like the few things that are just kind of gross that like everyone has to have. But I mean, Carter always did seem like she genuinely really liked it.
Yes, that's true, right?
And I think like when I first noticed the blue Jello, it was actually because you mentioned it. Like I think you once mentioned when we were talking way back with like SG1, like when we first started this podcast, I think you mentioned something about like, oh yeah, Carter and the blue Jello. And then ever since you mentioned that, I always noticed it. And so like, yeah, I think it's funny. I think I don't know. I'm glad that they chose to always show blue Jello, because sometimes you can have Jello that's like certain colors that just looks like gross. And to me, like for some reason I always gravitate towards blue stuff. So it's like as a kid, like if there was certain like candies and stuff, I would always like pick like the blue raspberry or whatever.
Oh, really? Aw,
Yeah.
so you're like Carter. But it's funny because I don't know why it always makes me think when I see them eating the blue Jello, it always makes me think of that scene in I can't remember the name of the episode, but you know when Carter is helping the Asgard with the replicators, and they bring out the sort of like little jelly looking things. and he says, try the yellow one, you know? And it always makes you think like they definitely pick that instead of blue because she's always having blue jello.
That's funny.
That's always what I thought about. But for some reason I almost kind of wondered like, did they make it somewhat look like jello just to follow that gag or not? I don't know. But I always thought that for some reason I always think about that every time I see her eating blue jello. I think of that scene with Thor and like, try the yellow one.
That's a good point. That's funny. Oh my
But
gosh, I
yeah,
wouldn't have
no,
thought of that actually. Yeah, so maybe it
I
is
don't know.
linked, you know?
I don't know why my brain always connects that, but yeah, no, I think that's a cute one. And I mean, I think we've
Yeah.
talked before about how much like the mess scenes are kind of integral to the series. And so
Yeah.
it's kind of cool that it's in that particular scenario. And to me, which is such a
Yeah.
special scenario in the show because it's, I mean, how many classic quotes did we get from mess hall scenes and like classic interactions?
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like something that is really necessary that you don't realize is necessary, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one I've definitely noticed. So it's O'Neill's obsession with The Simpsons. Um, so it's funny because before I read like what Joseph Malozzi says about that, um, it's funny because like I've always clearly obviously known of The Simpsons. I mean, who doesn't? That's like especially like in our age group and stuff. Um, and but I was never someone that actually remembers watching The Simpsons too much. Like I knew of The Simpsons. I had watched some of it. I think I was kind of into it like as a kid a little bit. Um, but like it's just more of like it's such a popular show that like you always hear. Oh, sorry, there's a little fly in my room. I almost ate it while I was talking. um, but like you always hear like quotes from The Simpsons. At least I remember growing up hearing like different things from The Simpsons, even if I didn't watch the show very much. So, anyways, um, they mentioned here O'Neill was full of Simpsons references and an admitted fan. Why? Well, because most of the show's writers were fans as well, although nowhere near as huge a fan as Richard Dean Anderson. How big a fan was he? So big that he attended the table reading of a Simpsons episode and was totally blown away by the experience. Occasionally, he would even bring his daughter by my office to check out the various Simpsons related dioramas and action figures that bedecked my shelf. Eventually, actor Dan Cast oh, how do I say that? Castellaneta guested on the show who played Citizen Joe, and he and Rick hit it off. They had a great time working together. Months later, Dan showed his appreciation by writing a Stargate RDA themed Simpsons episode to which Rick lent his voice talents. So I'm assuming that the guy that played Citizen Joe must have worked on The Simpsons and wrote for The Simpsons. Is that what they're saying?
Uh,
Um, be-
sounds, yeah, it says he's an American actor. He's best known for voicing Homer Simpson. Oh my God. Okay. Yes, that is
oh
amazing.
my God, I never knew that. I would have
Yes.
never imagined that. I never would have
It-
imagined that. So yeah, that's
no.
cool. I would really like to see that episode of where it's like the Richard Dean Anderson themed Simpsons episode because I've never seen it. Have you?
No, no, I mean, I maybe I saw it when I didn't know what Stargate was, or maybe, I mean, it's also possible it's later because I know Simpsons went forever, and I'm sure we watch it as kids or teens, and then later on, I mean, I didn't have TV, but it's interesting because also The Simpsons, like from my perspective, like it's kind of, I mean, we were from living in basically Shelbyville for quite some time. So so it's also something that's interesting in that regard. Like I always find it funny that O'Neill is both sort of from Minnesota in a way, which also has some connection because like my brother lives there and everything. And then also there's the Simpsons connection, and The Simpsons is basically based in also where I'm from. I mean, it's not based there, but like it's based in the city next to where we're from.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but one of my favorite, I don't know why, but one of my favorite Simpsons moments with O'Neill was when they were in the episode with the dome where they all had their memory taken away, and he's talk O'Neill is remembering something. He's like, I remember an important man. He was bald. His name began with an H. I think it was Homer. And you think he's gonna say Hammond? Like that always got me.
Oh my gosh, I just love that so much.
Yeah. But it's also really cool. I didn't realize that Richard Dean Anderson was also a Simpsons fan, so I think that's really cool. Like that they kind of made the connection in the show because to me that's part of O'Neill is this sort of childlike, funny, sarcastic humor aspect of him. And it's absolutely perfect with a
Yeah.
character like The Simpsons. It just makes perfect sense. So
I mean, I don't know if you're the same as me, but for some reason, um, I think with some shows and the way some people's personalities are, it can be difficult to, as a viewer, to like notice the difference between like someone as the actor, like Richard Dean Anderson, and then his character, Jack O'Neill, because I feel like the two, like both the character and Richard Dean Anderson, have so many similarities, at least how he portrays himself in public when he's at these Comic Cons and stuff. I feel like he's still Jack O'Neill when he's at these Comic Cons talking as himself, Richard Dean Anderson, and my brain cannot separate the two. It's like I think because maybe he brought so much of his own natural humor to the character, um, and then when he's as himself talking, that humor is still him, and so my mind can't separate the two. So I think for some reason I just always assumed that Richard Dean Anderson loved The Simpsons because O'Neill did, and I know that's silly because I'm sure that drives actors crazy all the time when people can't see them as themselves and they think of them as a character and think that they have certain personality traits that maybe they don't have or certain likes and dislikes, and it's because their character did. But like I really can't get my brain to separate the two. I feel like they're so closely linked.
I mean, it's funny because it naturally does make sense. You're not at all surprised when you hear that he likes The Simpsons. This,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
no, that one I did know. I did notice. I did notice quite a few times that he brought up The Simpsons, and so that one was clear. The next one, I will have to say I never noticed, which is the pineapple.
Nor did I.
And so apparently, whenever the show was directed by Will Waring, and I also like, I feel like I'm pronouncing all these names wrong, and I completely apologize. And people, please correct me in the comments if I'm way off base. But apparently, they were his signature visual. And it says, more often than not, they were so carefully camouflaged, most viewers would be hard pressed to notice them. And someone said, he says, I once asked why pineapples, and he told him that on one of his first productions, he was a camera operator on a scene where there was a high-speed chase. And for some reason, he just put a pineapple in the car's back window as a gag and then forgot to remove it for the actual shoot. And so it became a thing. And it says that even with this, nobody noticed until the dailies. And the director was livid and prepared to fire Will, but the producer loved the pineapple gag. And so he got to keep his job. And so the signature pineapple was born. And that's kind of, and it looks like he does, it says you can catch Will and his trademark pineapple in upcoming season 2 of Dark Matter. So it sounds like he continues it with also other shows, which is actually kind of fascinating. So I guess if you really want to know all about that one, you have to look up everything this person has been working on and then see if there's pineapples.
Oh my gosh. I love that so much. I love weird stuff like that.
Me too.
Like now I just really want to see like excuse me. I just really want to see like if I can find the pineapples in
Yeah,
Stargate. Like
me
where
too.
are
Me too.
they?
because I have to say, like, I'm not a very observant person in general. Like, I'm not that person that notices like mistakes. And, some people, they just notice, oh, you can see the reflection of that camera over there or something. Like, they're really good at noticing these kind of things. I'm terrible. I'm that person that never notices anything. It's easy to suspend disbelief with me. I'm awful. So I have to say,
See,
like,
I feel like I'm pretty good with that kind of stuff usually. Like I feel like I'm very like extra
no,
aware with that kind of
you
stuff.
notice.
So, but with the pineapple thing, that did surprise me. So I'm curious if anyone's actually seen it. Like, let us know what episode it is. Like maybe don't tell us like the exact moment because it'd be kind of fun to try and find it ourselves. But like I think it could be cool to know like what episode or episodes you've seen it if you have, and then
Hmm.
we'll try and search it and find it.
And if anything else, it gives you a whole new reason to rewatch Stargate.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess my question to you, Alyssa, would be if you were like working on a show like this director was, um what would be your signature thing um that you would try and hide in a scene if you could?
Goji berries, something like that. Some weird food that I'm into, but probably the first one I ever got into was goji berries. So I'd probably say that because other things aren't so like obvious. Like I could say, oh, maca powder, but it's like actually white powder on a set. Like this is just not a good idea. Like to have some phantom white powder somewhere. It's a bad idea. Um, so let's just
It's
stick with
either
goji berries.
either anthrax or cocaine.
Exactly. It's like no matter which way you go, it's not good. So let's just say goji berries. They're nice and bright
That's
red. And
funny.
what about you?
That's so mine wouldn't be a food, but
Ah, okay.
I would somehow try really hard to have there always be a llama somehow in the scene.
Ah,
But that could be very tricky because obviously it's a llama. So it wouldn't always be like a real llama, right? Like maybe it'd be like a tiny little image of a llama on a sticker or like somehow the image of like a llama face somewhere um or maybe sometimes in a scene maybe someone's walking past with
that would be really funny, actually.
I think that would be so funny. I kind of just like I want to do that now. That is
See,
my life mission.
that would be really, really cool. Yeah, no, if it weren't like the only animal I could think, oh, I would do that with is a phoenix, and they don't actually exist.
Oh gosh, that would be cool.
It
Yeah.
would be cool if they did, but they don't exist. So what can I do? I have to
I
use
guess
goji.
if I had to pick like a food, because I mean you were just talking kind of about this like my obsession with spicy foods. I would probably maybe try and have like a chili pepper always in the scene if I
Ah,
had to choose a
that's a
food.
there
Yeah.
you go. That's a good one. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
Okay, so the next one on the list, the big wrench. It says where Will Waring had his pineapples, director Martin Wood had his big wrench.
Phrasing?
Sorry. Oh God. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna
It
lose
gets
it.
better. Hang on. It gets better if you keep reading.
Okay, hold on. Oh, look, you can even see how red my face is getting. I'm just like dying of laughter here. Okay. So, okay, let's start this over. Okay, so you'll often spot it in the background in the hand.
Told you it just gets better.
I can get through this. I'm tearing up. So sorry. Okay, hold on. Take two. Okay. I didn't expect it. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I can do this. I can do this.
No, it's okay. I was reading and I knew that was gonna happen because I was like, oh no.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll start over. Okay. Here we go. Cool. Okay. Where Will Waring had his pineapples, director Martin Wood had his big wrench. You'll often spot it in the background in the hands of Martin's buddy and Stargate SG1 fight coordinator Dan. Oh, I can never say his name. Is it Shea? I don't know how to pronounce it. As he makes adjustments to equipment or simply walks around with this huge oversized calling card. Every once in a while, Martin would get into the big wrench background action as well, doting the persona of his on-screen alter ego, Major Wood.
No.
It is too immature for this whole paragraph. God, I don't even know if anyone could comprehend anything I just said.
I feel like they put the cherry on top of the cake with the alter ego Major Wood.
Oh my God, yeah. But wow. So no, I've never noticed the big wrench though. Like if I'm trying to like maybe like but like have you?
No, honestly, the gag that I would have thought of in terms of Siler is that he's always getting hurt. That would have been the gag I thought of regarding Sergeant Siler, is that he's always getting hurt, not that he has a big wrench. The wrench, I honestly, again, this is something I just never noticed. Is like something I never noticed.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm losing it.
But that he's like injured all the time is more what I thought. I don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't notice the big wrench either.
I mean, I think I have like a vague memory of like one scene, but like I wouldn't have noticed that it was like a recurring thing, like at all. So that yeah, that one I didn't notice. So yeah. That was a hard one to get through, man.
um, the next one, interestingly, another director one, because it says Peter DeLuise's Hitchcockian touch. And it says, whereas Will had the pineapples and Martin had the big wrench, director Peter DeLuise had Peter DeLuise. And so I have actually heard of this, and I feel like sometimes I've noticed this as well, but somebody also told me, so it's kind of unfair that I noticed it, is that he liked to appear in some way. Peter DeLuise would appear in some way in the background in the episodes that he directed, and so he found a way to appear. And so it says, yeah, he even appeared as a host of background characters and played the part of the young Ergo opposite his father Dom. So he says, once we thought he'd missed his cameo, only to discover he'd found an ingenious way to make a subtle appearance. In one scene, as Teal'c sits in his darkened room, deep in meditation, we pull back to reveal he is surrounded by candles, several of which are assembled to spell out the initial PDL. That is cool. That I will have to check out.
So funny.
I don't know which episode that's from. It must be from one where Teal'c does some Kalnarim, and I know there's a couple where he has a lot of candles. I think there's one with Daniel, and there's also one where he meets this priestess, and I'll have to see. Because that's really clever, and I never noticed. I only had heard that he appears in the episodes he directs, and sometimes you can spot him if you know about this.
Yeah, I've definitely spotted him. I remember there was one time, it was like a very quick scene. He was playing someone in the like Stargate Command background, where like they did like a quick like close up of him, kind of like looking to the side or something like that. Like it was like real fast, and I was just like, wait a second, that's like, because I always get confused because there's multiple brothers, right? Like there's like how many of them are there, and I always forget who's who, like the different names.
There's a lot of them, because isn't also, I mean,
like there's three of them, isn't there? Or two?
There's Dom, who of all the DeLuises, I think there's Dom who played Ergo, And then there's
Yeah,
Peter, who was doing a lot of the directing. Isn't David, is it David DeLuise, the one that played actual Pete?
may have been. Yeah.
It's one of them. I don't know if that's, but yeah, the
Let's see. David DeLuise, Michael DeLuise, Peter DeLuise. Yeah. So like a few of them I would always get confused because they all look so similar. They honestly like the brothers like
yeah, and I think
their
Dom
dad
is the dad,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, their dad was Dom DeLuise.
Ergo.
Yeah. And but all of the brothers I feel like have very similar features. And so
Hmm.
I would always get confused who was who. So I could never remember the names of each of them, but like I would know it was like one of the brothers. Um and because there was also one of them, this is like slightly off topic of Stargate, but there was one of them that was on Gilmore Girls, and he
Ah, okay.
played like a thing in Gilmore Girls. And so I was all excited because Gilmore Girls is also a show that I love. And I was all excited when he was on it because he played like a ridiculous character. And I can never remember which
Really?
brother it was that did that. If it was like, I think it was Peter, Peter or David. I can't remember. I would need to relook that up to of which one was in Gilmore Girls. But yeah, he played like a love interest of one of the main characters' sisters, and yeah, he was just kind of ridiculous. It was funny. Um but yeah, like I mean, so yeah, so with this one, I did notice that he would show up in different scenes with the Cal Norim um thing with Teal'c, and it's spelling out PDL. I'm trying to remember if I noticed that. If I noticed that, I would have still wondered, like, I wouldn't have put it together that it was for his name because I'm
Hmm.
terrible with
Me
names.
neither.
So I probably would have been like, wait, what? Like, what does that mean? Like but yeah, can you think of any other times where you've like seen him in the background, like specifically?
I can't think off the top of my head, but I know that there were a couple episodes where like somebody told me, "Oh, hey, look, it's Peter DeLuise," because he always appears in episodes. So
Mm,
that this is kind of I think it would be something where I would want to actually go back and rewatch, just like with the pineapples or the big wrench, to see if I
yeah,
can spot it.
yeah. See, with that kind of thing, I'm usually pretty good with spotting those random kinds of things. Like I've even noticed it in people's films that like I've scored for that it's like an independent film. And I've always noticed even like if they barely show themselves, like when like the director
Really?
decides to do a cameo in their own film, things like that. Like I've always noticed, I'd be like, hey, wasn't that just you? They're like, oh yeah, it was me.
Nice, nice.
So it's funny. Okay, next up. What is it? Jonas's voracious, is that how you pronounce it? Appetite. Um, Actors have their trademark bits as well, and for Jonas, it was food. Whether it was buttered toast in Nightwalkers or the infamous banana scene in Descent, which incidentally ran about 3 minutes long in the director's cut, he was always snacking. But he crossed the line in one episode where he showed up in the gate room sipping tea from a mug and had to be reminded the tea mug was another actor's trademark bit. And then it says see below because then it talks about that later. Um, so I never noticed that. I never noticed that Jonas was always eating or drinking. Did you?
Really? I never thought about him as always eating or drinking, but I do remember the banana scene. Like that, for some reason sticks out in my head. I think it's when they're in a ship and he's eating a banana, and I think like I can't remember. I think he's like it's when he's talking with Tilk, and um like they're talking about like sticking together. Maybe I'm like thinking of it the wrong scene, but I swear there's one where he's eating a banana and talking with Tilk, and about
Huh.
banding together, and then Tilk thinks they're forming an uprising or something like that.
Was it a scene where like was this like when he first joins SG1 and they're on that ship and he's not feeling appreciated yet, like he's not fully feeling part of the team? Is that the episode you're thinking of?
I
For some
think,
reason that came into my mind, so that's why I was curious, but I don't remember specifically the banana, but um
yeah, so Descent is, I'm just checking which episode it is of uh the third episode of the sixth season. So yeah, he would be there, but not quite into
mhm.
fully integrated yet. So that makes perfect sense. Yes. So yeah,
uh
you're probably right.
okay.
You're
Yeah,
probably
that's
ab
so funny. Like I don't think I noticed that at all. That's definitely something I never noticed was with him snacking. So yeah, I was surprised to actually see that one.
Yeah. I wonder if that's like because you almost wouldn't think anything of it if he's eating.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, everybody has to eat, right? But at the same time, not all the characters are eating. Like, does Teal'c ever eat actually? Now that I think about
I
it.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, and you would think too, because of me having that issue with the sound of what's it, misophonia or however you
Hmm.
pronounce it, uh, uh,
Misophonia.
misophonia. Why do I say miso? um, but it should be misophonia because then that like miso is like a food,
Yeah,
makes sense.
exactly, exactly.
But like, um, but yeah, because like I'm very sensitive to sounds, especially of people eating, like
Hmm.
he must have not, thankfully, made any sounds while he was eating in those scenes, or it wasn't picked up or whatever, because like then I probably would have noticed it and got irritated.
Yeah, yes. Totally, totally. Yeah, so I guess out of curiosity then, like the eating scenes, they didn't like it didn't bother you in Stargate because it's not so ASMR or something.
I can't I don't think the eating scenes didn't bother me if there was no sound from their eating. I think
Yeah.
usually there was a lot of talking, and
Yeah.
the way at least they edited it, you didn't hear the eating sounds. Because whenever I watch like a movie or a show and someone is eating and talking, and then after each thing that they eat, they let out this big smacky sound, like wow, I hate scenes like that so much. It causes me massive rage. And so I definitely would have remembered that, and I don't. So I think either they edited it in a way that they took that sound out so that viewers don't hear that, or it just wasn't picked up, and because what was more important was what they were saying, right? So
Exactly, the
um
dialogue.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
totally. Totally. But now I want to rewatch season 6 and see if I can find every time Jonas eats. So the next one is also one that like I feel like I should notice, but I didn't really notice it or think of it as a gag, and that's magnets. And so it says every once in a while, whenever Carter tried to explain some scientific or technological wonder, Jack would try and tie it back to magnets. And he says, well, this one compliments of creator executive producer Brad Wright, who once had someone pitch him some ridiculous scientific theory. When a dubious Brad asked him to clarify the faulty scene, the other individual shrugged and offered magnets. So it eventually became the stock response to every befuddling question of logic. And that's really funny. I actually like that. I like that little backstory, but I didn't, I'm sure if I think about it, I would notice it. If I watch it again, I would notice it. I wish I noticed it like now, but I didn't. I completely
Yeah.
went over my head. What about you?
Yeah. No, I never
Okay,
noticed it.
you
Not
didn't
at
notice
all.
it either.
Nope.
I guess the answer to that is we were just so befuddled ourselves by the scientific theories that we didn't
Probably.
notice.
I kind of feel like I can really relate to Jack when he's hearing Carter talk about her explanations, and it's like you could just see his brain turn off, and he's just like, what is happening here? I'm gonna zone out because I don't understand her. That's what I feel I do when Carter does her scientific speak.
Yeah, same. And it's like, okay, magnets, and then you don't think anything of it because it's like, sure, yeah, why not? It makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
that's funny.
But I feel like
Let's
there
see.
was,
Oh, yeah.
I feel like wasn't there, maybe I'm completely losing it. Wasn't there one time when he guessed that and it was actually correct? There has to have been.
I think you're right. I think you're
And
right, because there was something that he said that I think like you just expect them to give him like the look of like, right, like, whatever, like, you certainly don't know what you're talking about. But I think like then he was surprised. So I think
No, 'cause
you're
she's like,
there.
no, actually, sir, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet you did have to do the magnets. That's funny. That's cool. Let's see. The next one, The Wizard of Oz, says this was another running joke that predated my involvement in the production, but SG1 was peppered with references throughout its 10-year run, culminating in The Wizard of Oz, sight gag from the show's 200th episode. Of course, by that point in the series run, the lineup had changed, offering a slightly altered version of the originals. Carter as Dorothy, Daniel as the Cowardly Lion, Teal'c as the Tin Man, and of course, Jack as the Scarecrow. Yeah, I mean, obviously in that episode, or there was multiple times they did Wizard of Oz stuff, where it was very obvious. And then I remember Jack saying a line once in a different episode. I don't know what episode it was, where he was saying something like he was making a reference to like when the witch gets flattened by the house. He made some
Hmm.
sort of reference to that, and then a different time he made a reference to like, I think there was a few times I noticed it where he like made a reference to like, I think it was usually Jack, I think that I would notice like where he made a reference to the dog Toto, or he said something about like, like how like Dorothy would click the red shoes, like he said something about like he would make little jokes about it. So I definitely have noticed that. I'm not sure if I caught all the times they did it though. Like how about you?
Doubt it. I maybe caught one or two, but I mean, that's like, if I really stretch, I would say the big, like, I caught clearly the one in 200, but I don't think I would have noticed this otherwise. Like, without it being mentioned
Mm.
here, I really kind of want to go and again now see it and see. But yeah, I completely also over my head. Maybe there's like one or two, I'm sure, here or there. Like the thing you mentioned about Jack kind of
Yeah.
rings the bell. Um, but I wonder how,
I
if
mean,
I paying attention, how much more you would notice. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I definitely noticed multiple. But again, I just don't know how often they did it. But with that one, I probably would notice when he was doing that. It kind of reminds me too of like how in the very beginning, I think it's season one, um, Jack also does a lot of references to like old shows. And so like he
mhm.
did like lines from I Love Lucy, and then Teal'c is like
Yes.
wondering what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
Lucy, I'm home.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
Lucy.
So those are always really funny. Like I always really love those. But it's funny because oh, what was it? There was an episode me and my daughter Taylor were watching the other day. I think we're on season 3 at this point. I think, is it season 3 or season 4? No, I think it's season 3. And of course my brain is very selective in what I remember, so I don't remember the actual line that was said, but I do remember noticing that when Jack made a joke, it was referencing to some, oh, that's what it was. It was referencing to Austin Powers, and he said something and he put his pinky here when he was saying something. And remember in Austin Powers, they would always do that where they'd say
Oh
something and
yeah. $1 billion.
yeah, and so like it showed like Jack was saying something to Carter, and then she kind of like just smirked and laughed as they start to walk off. Like he did something and he said something with his pinky like that and then walked off. And so it was a clear reference to Austin Powers, which would have been at that time of
I
filming.
didn't catch
And
that. I
oh
didn't.
really? And so yeah, and so it's funny though when you're watching it with a younger generation of people, because like my daughter's 14, and so like she, I just started laughing, and I was just like, then I realized like, oh, she's not going to know what the heck that means. Like it's probably just going to totally like bypass her thought on any of that. Like she wouldn't even notice it. She'd probably just be like, wait, what was that? Like because clearly she would have never seen that movie. So I thought that was funny how there's certain lines and jokes and little things that are in there that now if someone's younger is watching it, like they're not gonna catch it.
Yeah, yeah,
Unless they're into older shows and older movies, they're not going to catch it.
totally, totally, totally. No, that's absolutely true. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. And I didn't catch the Austin Powers thing. Now I'm gonna have to watch it again. See, I told you, I don't catch
Yeah.
anything. Um, the next one I think is one that probably everybody catches, and
Yeah.
I can say I even caught this one is the Indeed. Um,
Yeah.
but this is interesting because he elaborates. Actor Chris Judge even took to inserting the odd Indeed on occasions where it hadn't even been scripted. I knew we'd reached the point of no return when, while screening dailies one day, we watched as someone asked Tilk, "Have you seen him?" To which Tilk replied, "Indeed, I have not." That's amazing. Um, but yeah, I think this one we probably both have noticed. I would be more interested to see if there's a single person that watched this that didn't notice the Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what I was more shocked about with Indeed is that it wasn't always used, right? It wasn't until like season 2 or something, or a later
Right, yes.
season. And so I remember, I think it was Martin that
Yeah,
had told us that, right? And
something like that, that he didn't use it
and
until
I
then.
remember
Yeah.
thinking, what? No, that can't be right. Like that doesn't make sense. Like I remember hearing it all the time, but actually no, I think it didn't start until season 2, and I think it
Yes.
was Christopher Judge that created it, right? Like I think like he had
Hmm.
said it and then they started using it all the time or something like that. Um so yeah, I mean that's something that I think everyone would certainly notice. It's it's like the go-to reply when a Stargate fan says anything and then someone replies with Indeed.
Exactly, exactly. Um, and then you have like one of my favorites, the cute little interchange with him and Ronan when Tilk appears in Atlantis, and when Tilk says indeed, and Ronan says, "You say that a lot." What? Indeed, I had not noticed. Tilk didn't notice, and then it's funny because instead of saying indeed when he says you said a lot, I said I had not noticed, which is actually really perfect.
Yeah, that is so funny. I do remember that scene now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that scene. Was that also in like when they were in like the mess hall, like when they were eating?
I think so because it was in the Midway episode, right? So,
I don't know.
like, yeah, the one where I think they met and went to the Midway station or something like that. Yeah, I have to rewatch that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, okay, the last one that's listed here is what the hell is an O'Neill's cup? Seriously, this one is fairly subtle, but after noticing it for the first time, I caught countless more. Whenever Jack has a cup or mug in his hand, there will come a point in the scene where he'll glance down, frown, and then attempt to pluck some mysterious foreign object out of his drink. Watch for it. So, this one I have not, or at least I don't remember noticing. And I really, for some reason, want to find this happening. Like, I'm very curious about it because I find that really funny actually because it's something that is so stupid.
I
It's so
know, right?
subtle and something that probably genuinely happens to so many people when they're drinking a cup of coffee or whatever, that like, you know, something floats in the air and falls in their cup or whatever. That I find that really funny that he thought, I think it's him that thought to do it, the actor, right? Richard Dean
Hmm.
Anderson, like just kind of randomly added that in there. So yeah, I don't think I remember seeing this and noticing that. How about you?
Never, never, not once. And now I definitely want to look for it because I'm also very curious to catch this one
Yeah.
because it seems like something you should, again, like these things, I wonder if it's partially because there's sort of just natural things that might occur that are kind of inconsequential. And so, in a way,
Yeah.
maybe your brain goes over it, especially if you're focused on the plot. Of course, you're not going to be focused on Jack and
Yeah.
his
I
coffee
mean,
cup.
I
So,
feel like maybe I've noticed it but then forgot about it because like you
yeah.
said it's not part of the main storyline. Like because I feel like Richard Dean Anderson as Jack O'Neill, he does a lot of humorous things that I feel like he does in such a natural way. Like he's really good with his humor. And so I feel like the way he portrays that character with that humor is kind of so like it's quick-witted, right? It's just kind of like very natural. It's not like intentionally like trying to get a laugh out of everyone. I feel like it's just like done so naturally that some people pick up on it, find it kind of funny, find it amusing, find it very
Mm-hmm.
likable. I think that's also something about his character that maybe like when someone is new to the show or someone is like of a younger generation and watching the show, I think that really helps pull them into the story because he's just such a likable, kind of funny person. Like I think it's something that kids can easily be drawn to. Like because even
Yes,
though he's sarcastic, it's never in usually not a mean-spirited way. So I feel
exactly.
like whenever he does little funny things, it's like you can imagine him just being like that person at a party that can easily connect with the kids in the group and like kind of almost like I feel like he'd rather be the kids than the adults and just kind of be a dork. So it's like you know, the reason I'm mentioning that is just because maybe that's why I also just didn't notice the cup thing because he's always kind of doing something,
Yes,
like there's
that's
always
true. That's
something
such a good
there.
point. That's such a good point. That's such a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Are there any other weird things that you notice, like silly recurring things?
Oh, hmm. Not that I can think of right now at the top of my head, but like what I wonder is there anything that Daniel did?
Yeah, you're right, because I think Daniel was not mentioned. The only thing that
Yeah.
when you said that immediately, like the only thing that came in my head was die. Like that was kind of a recurring joke that he
No.
died and came back to life all the time. Um, but but no, I don't know. I mean, then there's the recurring thing that everybody dates Carter, ends up dead or banished or something awful happens to them. Um, but yeah, I'm really tough to find these things because I don't really always notice them. Like I'm not
Yeah.
really the best at noticing that kind of stuff. There's got to be some in Atlantis. And I know in some
Oh,
other threads, someone
yeah.
was mentioning like Zelenka talking in Czech all the time. Um, but I'm sure there's like probably a list like this in Atlantis as well. It's just
Yeah.
I'm horrible at like noticing stuff.
Yeah. I'd be curious. Like I wonder like I feel like maybe there's some like linked to like McKay and Ronan and stuff
Hmm.
that I wouldn't be surprised if there's some like ongoing thing there of some little comment or thing that they regularly do because I feel like that could easily be hidden as well or not as noticed, but some something that maybe the actors themselves seem like they would want to do.
Totally.
Because like I have seen like some images of like silly images of like um just pictures of the actors like while they're filming. Like they must have taken, pictures of them and you can tell they're all just being kind of silly. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be kind of sad if there wasn't a list of stuff from Atlantis as
Yes.
well. But like um I think also like what I was thinking is for a second going back to when I was talking about O'Neill is I think that's why how I was saying how he's always doing something. There's always like some sort of silly thing there. I think that's why it was so hard for me to take to that character when the few times that I've seen him on Universe so far because he doesn't have any of
Ah,
that.
yeah. True, true,
Um,
true. Good point.
it's completely different. Um,
That's a
but
good point.
yeah, yeah. I mean, anyways, going back to what we were talking about though, like I'd be curious if people could put in the comments like especially with like SG1 and Atlantis, especially because we're not done with universe. I would be worried about even
Spoilers,
though
yeah.
yeah, worried about spoilers, but if anyone listening to us happens to know of anything that we didn't mention already that you noticed as a recurring joke or a recurring thing in SG1 or Atlantis, like put it in the comments, because that'd be awesome to hear about. And then we can always go back and try and find those things. So
Oh, definitely. Yeah, give us a reason to rewatch it more and more times.
yeah.